Hello, Sasha here. We're gonna go over that absolutely awful game design of Tooth and Tail.
Hey, Tender Draco here, reacting to a video put out a couple of days ago by Queen Sasha, where she points out a problem in Tooth and Tail's design. I'm here to set the record straight. Before I get started, I don't mean any offense to Sasha or her views on the game. I've linked her video in the description below, so check it out to make sure I'm representing it fairly. If you have anything you'd like to add, let me know in the comments.
Now the problem with Tooth and Tail, you can be hundreds of feet ahead. You can make every single correct decision. You can outplay your opponent throughout the course of the match. But the thing is, none of it matters because of how poorly this game is designed most of the time. Like, there's so many things that can happen where you just lose the game.
So that's the central point of her video. It's a pretty broad stroke there, so it'd be hard to completely pick it all apart in one go. But let me see if I can summarize the way I see it. In any RTS, the game usually continues until either side is basically given up. Like, yeah, technically you have to destroy all their buildings, or in Tooth and Tail, in this case, all of their mills and their campfires in order to win. But so much more often, the game is just over when one side surrenders. So if at any point you're so far ahead that you can't lose, the other player is probably also aware and will just leave the game. Until then, there's always going to be ways to come back from a behind position. There has to be, or it'd be over. Now, the player who is ahead is, of course, rewarded with advantages. If you have a better opening, you might be able to pull ahead in eco, or get a stronger army composition up sooner and win a fight, or you might hold an aggressive attack without taking much damage. That often results in having a better army, being ahead in economy for future better army, or having a better position on the map to defend. Being ahead in one of those ways would give you the advantage of choices. For example, if you have a better army, you can try to take a fight to do significant damage, or you can sell some of the extra army to get more economy, or tech up to an even better army. So it's all about those choices, but it doesn't guarantee victory. There's a lot of ways to throw away a lead by making a poor choice, and the player who is behind will be doing their best to set you up for making a mistake like that, like greeding up. The player who's behind could just try to get super greedy, and your mistake in that case would be not punishing them. Now, I've barely scratched the surface, as it's this kind of situation that is the whole game in an RTS. That play of trying to get ahead and then using your lead to get more ahead until one of you is basically winning and won the game. So let's see Sasha's example game she's using here to demonstrate her point. I'll jump in to point out stuff I think she might have missed, and I'm going to start partway in, as the opening is mostly just lots of squirrels, and Ben Dove takes a forward expansion here, but no attacks yet.
And just more tier 1 spam. I have Squizzer though, which gives me a pretty big advantage. So I can win a fight with slightly less numbers, so I can go ahead and afford to start teching. Go ahead and grab cams.
So far, neither side has really gained much of an advantage. Ben's grabbed an expansion, but hasn't really added a farm yet, and Sasha is using the little advantage that Squizzard has over regular squirrels to tech up. So she's putting down some cams, even though she has less tier 1 because Squizzard is good against pure squirrel.
Kinda don't really have space, which is really annoying. And then I decided to go full bore because 180 food isn't a whole lot when you have like 1,000 food of army on the field. Well, like when you have 700 food of army on the field, you can afford to put down a boar, especially when you have lizards and cams versus this pro skill.
More of the same. Ben massing squirrel. Naturally, boar is going to be very good against squirrels. Ben also can't really attack into the Squizzard cam, so I'd say Sasha here is gaining a little advantage as she's got better tech on the way, whereas Ben hasn't teched up at all or grabbed any kind of eco lead.
Doing sniper balloons, which, yeah, it's not gonna matter since it's boar versus pro tier 1.
Here things are starting to get interesting. Ben has started a badger, a little later than Sasha's boar, but not so late as to be irrelevant. Also a balloon, which, despite Sasha's comment here, is actually adding a lot of vision and a little bit of DPS to the position. It's not much, but it's definitely something. Ben has also added a farm, and so he begins to have a small eco lead.
Get badger, so let's just put out some, snakes just to make sure we kill the badger.
Alright, this is the very important point in this game. Basically, not a shot has been fired up till now, so both sides have gotten up to a similarly sized army, except Ben's badger is not out yet, which gives Sasha a bigger army for this attack. Is it enough to outweigh Ben's defender's advantage? We'll take a look.
Yeah, let's look at this pretty big army advantage.
I will say Ben has 30 squirrels standing here defensively. Sasha has 28 tier 1. Mostly lizards attacking, so considering lizards should be better against squirrels, Sasha should have the edge there. Ben also has 2 balloons, which, while they're not nothing, they're also not that great against Squizzard. They're not going to do a whole lot. So the best thing the balloons can do here, besides giving Ben advance warning from their vision, is to put some damage onto the boar. If the boar can be taken out before getting into a good spot, then the boar bomb is not going to do a whole lot. Sasha also has a couple of cams, which are definitely helpful in any fight, and 2 snakes. Now, the snakes are basically useless as the balloons in this case. They may pick off a couple of squirrels, but that's about it, since they can't shoot the balloons or the mill in this patch. As Sasha said, though, the snakes are here for the badger, so once it pops out, so they just need to survive until then. Last couple of points before I continue. The badger is almost out, so Sasha has to kill the badger warren or deal plenty of damage and then survive the counter push. Badgers are usually pretty weak without a supporting army, so Sasha would have the advantage there as well. But there are a lot of warrens and a mill to tank damage from Sasha's army, and Ben still has a slight farm lead, which will help replenishing his tier 1 as the fight drags on.
But the balloons are not going to do a whole lot here. Like, it's just to slaughter foe's army. Like,
okay, so the boar bomb went off, and it did so little. I'm saying that. It killed a couple of squirrels, but after the bomb went off, Sasha still only has a couple more tier 1, like 16 to 13. Slightly in Sasha's favor there. Plus the 2 cams and the 2 snakes are still around, and Ben still has both of his balloons. Those haven't been picked off, which I think is a little bit of a mistake. Sasha still has a slightly better army overall, but not as much as before, and she hasn't killed very many warrens or any pigs yet. In fact, Ben still has 10 squirrel warrens, which is the same that he started with, and the badger is almost out. Ben still has the defender's advantage here, with all these warrens tanking and bringing reinforcements out. A couple of pigs are shooting, and this mill can also tank as well, although it hasn't started tanking yet.
or actually does die pretty quickly, which is annoying, but whatever.
No, not whatever. Definitely dying right away there. Most of the advantage of the boar push was just sacrificed by not doing enough. I would say that's a huge point.
We're going after Badger Warren now. Decide to fall back.
Okay, so she killed the Badger Warren, but that's not going to help right now. Ben only lost 1 pig there at the end, so the eco is actually completely even on both sides, and Sasha's Boar Warren is supply blocking all of her tier 1 in this critical moment. If that wasn't there, there'd be a lot more reinforcements. The Badger is going to hit hard unless Sasha can get some snake tags on it right away.
So his entire army literally gets wiped.
No, both armies got wiped, not just hers. There's a badger and a handful of squirrels on one side, and 2 snakes, 1 cam, and an even smaller handful of tier 1 on this side. On top of that, all of these units are really, really injured, so they're going to get killed, including both of these snakes are at half health right now, so they're going to get killed off really quickly. The snake's low DPS is only good if the fight drags on, but the badger also gets better as the fight drags on. So best case scenario would be the Badger gets tagged, kills a bunch of stuff anyway, and then dies, leaving both armies completely wiped. And then one farm for each player, since the original farms have all fallowed at this point. In that case, Sasha does have a lot more value in the warrens that she can sell to rebuild her army. Either sell these to get the boar back, or sell the boar and have a better tier 1 army. But if the Badger doesn't die, then we won't get to that point at all. So, yeah, let's see.
But somehow, despite... Is Badger somehow still attacking my snakes? I have no idea, honestly.
Well, the Badger Rage is pretty decent. Good enough in this case to get some damage off and rev up while pursuing. That's not bad game design here. Sasha just happened to retreat too late, and Ben pushed with what little edge he had left in this army. Now he's pulling the Badger back to keep Sasha from tagging it, and while the cam is almost dead and one of the snakes is at 1 hit point, notice the tier 1 count on the board right now. 11 squirrels to 2. 1 squirrel and 1 lizard. So if the Badger just died right now, faster than snakes could even kill it, Ben could probably still win the fight.
A 1 tag, 2 snakes. Like, how does that make... Literally, I outplayed him so hard. I destroyed his entire army. I destroyed, like, half his warrens.
Okay, this is a frustrating moment in this game, but looking back at the replay, Sasha did not outplay Ben nearly as much as she's claiming. Ben's army was mostly destroyed, not completely wiped. Only 2 squirrel warrens were killed. If you look here, he was at 30, now it's at 24. Only 2 squirrel warrens were killed, and those are the warrens that matter right now. Everything else, the Badger warren being killed, the pigeon warrens being killed, doesn't matter. There's plenty of squirrels coming out. She didn't even kill both pigs at the expansion she attacked. The board did okay, but now it's gone, and there's a Badger here. I'd say that was a pretty decent hold, and a pretty good counter push from Ben. On top of that, Sasha totally botched getting the snake tags onto the Badger. I know that's her point. It's a hard thing to do when a Badger is a moving target, but it's been done before. Certainly it would have been easier if both snakes had been at full health, giving her a little more time to do it. As I said earlier, though, even if the Badger had died from perfect snake tagging, look at the tier 1 count. 10 to 1. It's not even the Badger that won the engagement. So, perfect snake tags, Ben still would have won the counter push and at least evened up the game here.
I destroyed 2 sniper balloons. Like, look at this.
Okay, look at this graph. She only has it up for like a second, so I had to pause right away. Do you see how much it shoots up right here? Like right here. Almost back up to even the instant the Badger pops out. So the fight goes well, and then the Badger pops out, and their armies are even. This is not how it should be. With a good boar push, Ben should have been way more dead at this point, and they're even. Then right here, with defender's advantage, with squirrels popping out, Ben totally can hold just fine, which means Sasha has to retreat, and then the Badger is moving shot while pursuing. Meanwhile, Ben's tier 1 gets to replenish, while Sasha's cannot because her boar warren is supply blocking it. I'm not trying to say that the Badger is better than boar or anything in general like that. I'm just saying that that boar push was a little too late and definitely handled poorly. Like, you gotta get more damage than that, and she probably could have. All of that outplaying and being ahead just to fail to kill enough squirrel warrens, pigs, or the Badger warren. She didn't even kill the balloons right away, which probably means they did get their value.
Scrap. I have 2 snakes versus a pigeonless Badger, and despite me constantly hovering on the Badger, 3 tags go on to Skrill. Like,
you got nobody to blame for yourself with that. Microing snake tags is hard, and in this case, both snakes were really low on hit points, and Ben was directly counter-microing. Ben knew what you were trying to do and kept the Badger moving and changing directions so it would be harder to follow. I'm definitely not good at snake micro, but that's a skill thing. Sasha's not fighting the game design at this point, she's fighting the other player. The Badger does get a moving shot by design, and that makes targeting it really hard, but it's been done thousands of times in other games, both by Sasha and lots of other players. I'm gonna stop here. She basically goes on a bit of a rant about how impossible the micro is in this situation. It's not. It's just very hard, and there is potential for counter micro from Ben, which makes it a real contest of skill. Ben was rewarded for playing better in that moment. But really, even if the Badger died, the Squirrel reinforcements would have given him a great counterattack anyway. So that boar push wasn't great. That was the moment Sasha needed to get more damage done to really cash in the little advantage that she had. She needed to deal with the balloons sooner, maybe target the mill, something. Killing the Badger Warren didn't help against the immediate counter push at all. So no, this is not an issue of bad game design. It's about decision making and a little bit of micro. If there are better examples of an issue in game design like this, let me know down below in the comments, or put up another video and I'd be happy to take a look. Until then, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more occasional Tooth and Tail content. Thanks for watching.